Hello to all those listening, and welcome to the fourth podcast of our RIS Coffee Catch-up student series. My name is Pranal Shah, a student at the University of Reading, working alongside the employer engagement team where the Reading Internship Scheme plays a big role. I'm joined today by Ella, a student who completed the Reading Internship Scheme in the academic year of 2019-2020. Hi Ella.
Hi.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So hi, I'm Ella, and I study Consumer Behaviour and Marketing. So in the School of Agriculture, and I'm in my final year now. And
That's
I did
great.
an internship. Sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
did an internship with the Reading Internship Scheme in like June, July last year.
Great. How did you find the Reading Internship Scheme?
Um, I think I actually found out about it because I had a meeting in the careers office for like I think it was to have a look over my CV or something like that, and I saw the like flyer on the table because I hadn't actually heard of it before either. And then I saw because I'd been looking for like internships and stuff to do over
Mhm.
summer, um, and I saw that on there, and then thought, oh yeah, I definitely will like look through some of these. And I saw that they had one which was to do with social media, which is what I
Yeah.
actually did my placement on. And obviously that's kind of perfect for my degree. So I went and had a look on the website and then applied for it from through there really.
Yeah. How was that, like navigating through the website portal, for the internship?
It was really easy, yeah. I mean, I've
Yeah.
used it before just when I was looking at other internships and stuff like that, and I've also been looking at it now that I'm
Hmm.
gonna be a graduate for like graduate schemes and things like that. So yeah, it was really easy and yeah, I found it really easily and everything like that.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for students who are trying to navigate My Jobs Online?
Um, I think just maybe like make sure you're using the right I can't think the word, like filters and stuff
Yeah.
like that, because I know sometimes like so many different things can come up, whether that be like a
Hmm.
full-time job or, part-time internships
Yeah.
and things like that. So I think making sure you filter it correctly. Um, but apart from that, I feel like it's a really easy site to use, especially as we kind of use my jobs online for other things as well throughout
Yeah.
the uni experience.
Definitely. So you mentioned you were looking for summer internships, at the time. But what made you apply for the position that you applied for?
Um, well, I applied for quite a few just ran any that I saw really.
Yeah.
I applied for, and I'd been applying on like other websites like um, Work in Startups, one of them's called, because basically, as it had been like obviously it was kind of still when the pandemic
Mhm.
was um, fairly new. I thought I'd apply for a smaller company because they may still be doing like internships and things like that. So I'd been applying on all sorts of sites for different ones and everything, but I think a lot of places that were advertising internships weren't actually doing them. I think they'd been there from like before the pandemic and then weren't taken off or anything. So when I saw that the Reading Internship Scheme had summer internships, and then I saw the one that I applied for, um, yeah, I just really applied for it straight away, and then luckily I heard back from Pete, who's the
Yeah.
CEO of Social Retail Group, where I did my internship, and yeah, I got an interview with him, and then it just went from there, really.
That's great. You said you started, the journey with a career consultant telling you about the Reading Internship Scheme. Through the interview process, did your career consultant help you at all? Like, prepping you for questions, or did you do
Um,
that by yourself?
I don't think they helped me this time. I mean, I'd had I think maybe like two or three career meetings already to do with my like CV and
Yeah.
cover letter. Um, so I'd already had ones to do with things like that. And then I didn't actually have one for the interview, but basically before the interview, Pete, who interviewed everyone,
Mhm.
he gave us like a task for the interview. So we
Right.
had to create, I think it was like a half an hour presentation on something. So it was quite nice actually to have an idea of what was going to be happening in the interview.
Yeah.
Because it sort of meant that you could like prepare a little bit, which was quite good.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I was actually glad that there was that presentation because it meant I sort of knew what I was going to be doing. It
Yeah.
was good.
So you did your presentation, and do you have any tips for students who have to pre-plan for their interview?
Um, tips. Yeah, I mean, one of the things I did was just make sure that the presentation itself was really concise.
Yeah.
Um, and I think one thing that's been really helpful with the degree I do is there's been a fair amount of like presentations and things like that, whether it be group projects with presentations or like independent work with presentations. So I think because of that, I've luckily had quite a lot of practice in presenting and things, so I don't really mind presenting. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I think I know like in first year they would always say to us, keep your presentations, like the slides themselves, very minimal,
Mhm.
and then do more of the speaking about the topic. So I think that was something that was really good. And then I think also I just got quite lucky that so one of the things I did for my presentation is was I sorted the posts because it was for social media
Yeah.
into themes, and luckily like Pete actually does that now, and so he was like it was really good because I could see it's something that we do now, and you've sort of thought like that as
Yeah.
well. So I know that was like a big reason why he ended up giving me the internship. So I think it was a little bit just luck, but then also um yeah, during uni luckily I've had a lot of presentation
Experience.
experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely. So, what did you like about the social retail group when you first applied?
I quite liked that it was so basically, just to give a bit of background, I
Yeah.
guess. So, Social Retail Group does social media and helps retail companies with their social media. And one thing that I really liked is one that it's a small company, so there's only I think 4 or 5 employees, um, which yeah I really liked because it meant that there was a lot more freedom in terms of what you got to do and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I think it was just like quite interesting. There's not many companies because it's also um, we're also doing like local social media, and that's something that not many companies really do. So it was
Right.
something that I was sort of interested in doing.
Yeah.
And then once I'd like had the interview and spoken to Pete, I was like really interested in doing it because it sounded like something where I would learn a lot that was linked to do with I guess like what I'd studied, but I hadn't actually put into like practical practice yet. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was really good.
No, that's great. So what type of interview did you have for the students out there? Just so they know, because there's different types of interviews. There's competency based, strength based.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because it was in like June, so it was online, but it was I'm trying to think. It was just I think so. We'd been told before
Right.
that we had to prepare a presentation. So I had the presentation, and then I think Pete just asked a few more questions after that. I don't think the interview was really any more than like maybe 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
Um, and obviously, most of that was the presentation. So there wasn't a ton of questions,
Mhm.
um, just a few, I think, really. Um, but that was it. There wasn't anything else in terms of like, I know for a lot of graduate schemes and placements, you have to do like um, the cognitive
Yeah.
tests and stuff like that. And there wasn't anything like that, which is good because I don't really like
Yeah.
those sorts of tests.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was nice, and it was just a relaxed interview as well. So yeah.
That's good. Have you ever had experience before with video interviews?
Um, I don't think so. I don't think I have in terms of like it being, I guess, like face to face
Yeah,
with someone online. So I've done before like where you have to take a video of yourself answering five
yeah.
questions or something, and um, things like that. But I've only ever done that before as like um, something that you would do
Mhm.
before you then had an interview where you actually spoke to a person. So I think
Right.
that was my first interview, or it might have been my
Mm.
second interview actually, but the first one was for another internship, but I didn't really
Okay.
like it. Um, but yeah, I hadn't had much experience at all with it.
That's fair. Did you get any feedback from Pete when you did your interview?
Um, yeah, so he said that he like really liked the PowerPoint
Yeah.
presentation that I did. And that was one of the reasons why I got the job in the end.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that was the main
Yeah.
piece of feedback, really. Yeah.
That's great. Do you have any tips for students, going into these interviews or uh
Um,
yeah.
I think it's just like best to be relaxed and to like be chatty and stuff like that. Um, I think like everyone who interviews is human at the end of the day, so
Mhm.
like try not to worry too much. I know that like obviously you're going to, but like
Yeah.
try not to worry too much. I think also as long as you're like prepared. So I do like to spend a fair amount of time before just like preparing in terms of what do I think they're going to ask. So what should I sort of have an answer in the back of my head. Um, and also like do you know enough about the company and things like that. um and then I think also as well it's just important, yeah, to just like show the sort of person you are, and if they like you then that's great, and if they don't then it might just mean that you're not like fully right for the role, but that doesn't
Yeah.
mean that another one won't come up.
I totally agree. I mean, many students are hesitant to, approach employers because they're scared of rejection, I would say.
Mm,
But I mean, you should just go into it with an open mind, and I think you'd be okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Um, when you got the job, I think you're still in the same job at the moment.
Mhm.
How has that transition been, or is it still the same?
Um, so yeah, so originally it was a month long
Yeah.
internship, and then I think once the month was over, I just like stayed on for another month because it was still summer. So I was doing full time, so I went down to I think maybe like 20 hours or something,
Right.
and did another month and after that, and then Pete just sort of said like, because I also had another job at the time, so I was doing another part-time job
Right.
at IKEA actually. I used to work in the kitchens department at IKEA, so I was doing that as well at the time. And obviously, because I was doing 16 hours there and then I was doing full
Mhm.
time with Pete, it was just like a lot for me to
Yeah.
sort of juggle. And then as it got closer to September, so like starting uni again, Pete sort of said like, would you be interested in staying on at
Mhm.
Social Retail Group and leaving IKEA? So obviously, um, I was thinking in terms of, I guess, like long term
Yeah.
and my like career and experience in that sense. So then, yeah, so I left IKEA before first term started again, and
Mhm.
yeah, so I've been there ever since. It was a really easy like transition.
Yeah.
I think partially probably because it is a small company, so it's not like I had to get used to loads of different people and
Mhm.
departments and things like that. But then also I've worked from home the whole time. So
Right.
I did the internship from home and then I've been working from home ever since. And Pete's really flexible in terms of like the hours I work. So I'm now
Okay.
on a 10-hour contract.
Right.
Um, but I often do more, but I just sort of work a few hours a day and it can be whenever I want and things like that. So it's quite flexible in terms of when I work.
Mhm.
So it's been really easy to maintain doing it whilst also in my final year of uni.
Yeah. How has experience been? Because you've had, office based, like you mentioned you had a placement. How has that been, like an office-based versus a remote internship
Um,
job?
I think honestly the difference is just like that I guess I've never met the people that I work with, which
Yeah.
when I think about it is definitely strange. But yeah, I think it's just sort of getting used to that and not being afraid to like ask questions because obviously
Mhm.
if you don't know people and you're starting a company like remote, I think it's a bit different if you've worked for the company in person and then you go to remote. But if you start working somewhere and you've never met them, um, I think as long as you're just like really friendly and ask questions if you need help, then
Yeah.
it's okay and you get used to it. But I think that would definitely be the main difference, the fact that I haven't really met anyone that I work with in person. But apart from that, I feel like it's pretty similar. It's just mainly like I guess you can't just ask someone a question quickly, but then at the same time, people are only like a text away. So
Yeah.
luckily we've got like a big group chat which everyone just asks question in if there are any. And another one of the employees who works for Pete used to work at not used to work, used to go to Reading as well.
Oh,
So she used to do, I think it was business in the Henley Business School. So yeah, so she was like really helpful with things, and she obviously knows what it's like to be at uni.
yeah.
'Cause she only graduated last year, so um, yeah, it was really easy in that sense. But I think it is definitely it can be strange, and I think it's just the new
Mhm.
normal to be working like in my bedroom instead
Yeah,
of in an office or things like that.
that that's fair. You're working part-time for him now. What
Mhm.
other opportunities has this opened up for you?
I think it's opened up, yeah, loads, and I think it's been really um, great actually working for a small company. I think it's not that it's necessarily seen as like a bad thing, but I think a lot of the time people, especially in like marketing, they want to work for like the or business in general. They
Yeah.
want to like work for the big four or like a really big company. But I think actually working for a small company is great because um, you get to do a lot more. So I get to sit in with meetings with like potential clients, like huge global clients and stuff like that. So I think, and I get so much experience that I wouldn't have got if I'd been working at a big company. And I think I've also got to work so closely with Pete, and he's obviously got so much knowledge about things. So I think
Yeah.
it's been really great in terms of that I've like learned a lot, and it's also quite independent in that sense. So because it's only really me working on one of the projects that we're currently working on, um, I've like got to learn so much more and it's a lot more free in that respect, which I think's been really valuable for like me learning while I'm at uni as well.
Yeah, definitely. Just the last final questions for me. Do you have
Mhm.
any tips for success, for students who are going to pursue the Reading Internship Scheme?
Um, I think like a really good piece of advice is to like have a busy CV, which is something that I think I can't remember who, but someone told me. So
Yeah.
I think like it's just really important to, be doing things in your spare time and things that you can add to your CV. So even if you may have not had tons of experience, because
Mhm.
before this job, although I've had a lot of experience in like retail and
Yeah.
places like that, I hadn't actually had experience in like a marketing
Marketing.
role necessarily.
Mhm.
Um, so I think like having a CV that shows that you've done a lot of other things, whether that be like the Red Award or like being a star mentor, things like that,
Yeah.
alongside like part-time jobs is really good because it shows like that you're a proactive person and that you're like willing to go above and
Mhm.
beyond a little bit. And then I think other advice is just like to practice interviewing if you haven't already.
Yeah.
I found that really helpful because you sort of learn. okay, I need to like get better at answering this sort of question. And it also makes you more confident when it comes to like the interviews that you really want to do well in.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really important.
Definitely. You slightly touched on this in your earlier answers, but what has been your biggest takeaway from doing the whole scheme?
Um, I think it's just given me like a higher level of like confidence in the professional like workplace
Yeah.
where I didn't necessarily have before. I was
Mhm.
probably have been more shy, whereas like I've definitely grown in confidence in that sort of thing. And I think it's just given me like a better understanding of how a business works and
Right.
like how people run their businesses and things like that, which is obviously so valuable, not just for like a marketing degree, but for any degree, because for the most part, people work for like businesses.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely been valuable. Um, yeah, I think that's it.
Great. Thank you for speaking to us today.
Yeah,
It's
no
been a
problem.
pleasure having you.
Thank you.